Hello, boys and girls. We're here. We haven't forgotten you. Ruby and I were just chatting, having a good time, knocking some bark off my piece of wood here. You may notice some changes. One is this light behind me. In fact, I need to turn that one off. Got one extra light on. There we go. That's a little better. But I rearranged. I got a new dust collector. It's not completely hooked up yet, so I can't use it just yet. Um, big job, two bag thing. It'll collect a lot of dust, but that's not. We're not going to use that today. In getting that, I had to do some rearranging and revamping and whatnot. So things are just a little bit different. So we're here today. We're going to turn. If I change cameras, there we go. Now I can change. We're going to change over here to this camera. I've got a 6-inch piece of cherry here. Just knocked most of the bark off. It was kind of coming loose anyway. Has a couple of very minor cracks in it that I've already put a little glue in. We're going to try to do a little bit of a hollow form. So I'm going to get started on this and let Ruby share with me who is in the chat. We'll get going.
Okey doke. Gee, I feel odd doing this. Usually this is Wayne's job. Okay, starting at the top was Weeval, Shane Hurst, Rich Bolduc, Andy at door 60, Roger Woolham, Al Dawson, Karsten Peterson, Todd at Glen Cove, Heather at Spirit Wind, Wood and Stone, Anthony Green, Roger Kent, Vinnie Charlton, James Crawford, Fred Gilliver, Pete at Twisted Tree, Thomas Kenny, Susie the Swiss Woodturner, and I hope I haven't missed anyone. If I have, I apologize. Just put your name back in and I'll catch you again.
It
Oh,
is good to have everybody.
the Pole Barn Productions.
Okay, that's Doug Moore.
Okay, Doug.
Glad to have everybody along. It's seems like it's been a long time. It's only been 2 weeks, but it's a long time off the lathe, long time away from all of you all.
Well, maybe you want to take me off the screen so they can watch you turn, since I think that's what they came to see.
There we go.
That's a better view.
Let me close in on this a little bit. You can see even better what we're doing. Just using a bowl gouge to get started, get my shape.
Oh, and Haley from Wooden Burl has joined us.
Hey, Haley. I was wondering why I was having such an issue. I was a little high with my tool rest. There we go. I started to say a while ago, it's very good to have all of you in today. I know big soccer matches are going on and all that fun stuff, but for you guys who are here, welcome.
And the professor has joined us.
Hey, Professor. Let's see, I should be a good place to get a. Well, let's see what we can do by getting the tenon marked here.
And outside the pole barn has joined us as well.
Same person. That Doug Moore, he's a sneaky little booger. Doug, it is good to see you and have you in today.
Now, are you doing a mortise or a tenon?
I'm going to do a tenon.
Okay. Oh, he says that's his alter ego. Okay. Everybody's got to have an alter ego.
Why, sure. See what we
And
got there.
Robert Botwood has joined us. Good
Hey,
evening, Robert.
Robert.
And Lucy Super Tato Bundy Rowe has joined us.
Sweet potato. Good to have you, Lucy. All right, just going to continue on shaping the bottom of this.
And Bailey Woodworks has joined us.
Hey, Chris.
If you folks look closely, you'll see as Doug's making that cut, he's riding his bevel quite nicely and getting a nice cut coming off of it. Oh, and the alien leader has joined us. Good day,
Alien.
alien.
Good to have you along. Yeah, crack is extending on down into this blank. I'm not super worried about it, but I am going to put a little glue on it just to give myself a little insurance, which may or may not pay off, but that's the way insurance is. Ah!
That's true. Wivey Woodshed has joined us.
Hey, Wivy. All right. I'll make a couple more cuts, and then we'll turn this around and work on the top side of it. We'll come back in, come from push cut. All right. Let's see. There we go.
You're not going to finish shaping the outside?
I'm going to do the rest of it from this other side because it's
and
going to be a hollow form, so it's going to curl all the way around. I'm going to do a fairly small opening.
Okay.
So yeah, so that I can stay with the grain. I'll be coming from center out like we do, just like as if it was a bottom.
Okay. And Doug Moore rejoined us again with another alter ego. Rob from Copper Owl has joined us as well.
Hey, Copper. And as I do about half the time, I forgot that I was on a worm screw, so instead of sticking it right back in, I had the channel locked here close, so we'll just take it out that way.
I'm glad you're not putting yourself in one of those awkward positions where you can't get the worm screw off.
No. This isn't camel thorn either, so. All right.
Well, it did happen to one well-known turner, not mentioning any names.
Yeah. I'm still not so sure he wasn't set up for that.
Somebody might have taken it off and glued it in.
Yeah, that's possible.
When you're demonstrating, other people have a tendency to do things to create humor. I remember one time Stuart Batty challenged his dad to a contest turning a goblet. So they had the wood on the lathe and they were all set to go. Somebody called go, and all of a sudden Stuart's lathe didn't work. When he wasn't looking, his dad had unplugged the lathe.
That sounds like something those two would get into.
Yeah, his dad was quite a humorous character.
Well, sure.
I have to say I enjoyed his company and taking classes from him. I learned a lot. He was very particular about how you held your tool and the direction of your cuts.
I bet.
Lucy is asking Doug how many alter egos he has, and he says just two.
All right. Kind of like the shape I got on the top better than I do on the bottom. It's okay. I've changed over from my Doug Thompson gouge over to my Sorby, and it always surprises me how much different they cut. They've got the same grind angles on them, but the two do not cut the same.
The flutes are just a little bit different.
That's probably what it is. I've never taken the time to pay that much attention to it, but that's probably exactly right.
Maybe if we went to an overhead camera now.
That might be a good idea. Like right there.
Yep. And yes, Lucy, I imagine a lot of people are busy watching the football tonight or soccer. I'm not sure exactly who England is playing against. What I do know for sure is that the Edmonton Oilers certainly lost to the Panthers.
Isn't that crazy? I just saw that this morning.
Oh, apparently they're playing Slovenia. Thanks, Todd. I was really hoping they would win this one.
That Edmonton would?
Yep.
I lived in Jacksonville, Florida back when they had the Jacksonville Browns. My seventh grade gym coach played for them.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That was an interesting time. Just taking some light cuts just to finish this curve and make it as nice as possible. Well, so much for that. Wasn't paying attention and stuck that raw edge right in that wood.
We have a discussion going on about whether or not normal TV is worth watching.
I don't know. I don't have normal TV anymore. So is that my answer?
Yes.
Got a little bit of that catch right there showing, so just change the angle of my tool rest so I can come in and take this very light cut across here.
Now, Karsten says he doesn't normally watch games, but tonight he's got a split screen going.
Okay.
Oh, what's my ice hockey team? Can't really say I have one at the moment, to be honest with you.
All right. Tell you what, I was wanting to watch the College World Series because, well, I'm from Kentucky. Kentucky, for the first time, got into it. And I was really kind of wanting to watch it, but I don't have cable, so I did not get to watch it. Tell you what, I'm going to turn on my my small dust vac. How does that sound? Is it terrible?
No, it doesn't. Todd has pointed out that I'm 600 miles closer to Florida than Edmonton. You're right, Todd, but on the other hand, I am Canadian. And we do tend to cheer for the underdogs. Actually, sport wise, I probably watch more golf than anything on TV.
Mm.
But that's because I used to be a very avid golfer and competitor. And Haley says she's a tennis fan.
I grew up watching tennis. My dad was a Davis Cup player when he grew up, and then ball boyed for all the greats, Rod Laver, and golly, I can't even remember all the names. But other that era of Rod Laver.
Mm-hmm. Well, Rich is forgiving me for being Canadian. Thank you, Rich. I didn't have any choice in the matter.
I tell you what, Canada is not a bad country to be from. I tell you what. I don't have tons of experience with Canada, but what I've got, the times I've been in Canada, I've really enjoyed it.
Robert's asking what handicap I played golf at. I did get down to a 7.
Oh my.
And when I was quite competitive, I played in the DuPont World Amateur. And out of 9,000 golfers, managed to place second.
Well, that's excellent.
And Al wants to know if ice hockey blades can be sharpened to be a scraper or something with wood turning. Absolutely, Al. They're metal. They're very, very hard metal, and like anything, they can be adapted. Well, I was lucky when I learned how to golf because right from the beginning, I took lessons from an old Englishman, and he was very particular about how I did it. And he owned a driving range, and what we used to do was go out early in the morning, about 6 a.m., and we walk one direction all the way around the range, hitting balls with just our right hand, with a chipping club, and then the other direction with just the left hand with
Okay.
the same club. And you learn how to incorporate both hands properly and aim.
Sure. Okay, there it is. Oh, yeah, since I rearranged my shop here, my turning area, I still have to look for everything. Remember where I put it. So I went
No,
to my
no.
right to get a new set of a new piece of sandpaper, and it's on my left, of course.
Uh-huh. I hang mine from magnets along the side of my lathe.
Mm-hmm.
Robert, I didn't have a pro golfer's name. When I was a kid, I grew up in northern Ontario, and from the time you could walk, you put on skates. So everybody learned how to ice skate and how to play hockey. And we used to use Sears catalogs for shin pads.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Back then, there weren't any girls' teams, so we played on the boys' teams.
I don't guess hockey has developed a women's league yet, have they?
Actually, they have,
Have they? Okay. Okay.
and they play a pretty decent game of hockey.
Sure. I was never into hockey until whatever year that was when the U.S. won the Olympics in hockey. And I watched almost every one of those games. That was pretty phenomenal.
Oh, my pro golfer's instructor's name was Harold Hambleton.
All right. I'm getting this sanded. We're not going to go through the finishing process though tonight. I don't know that well, if we have time, I'll go back and do some finish. That's not even sanded perfectly, but it sure does feel good. It's one of the things about cherry when you get a nice cut on it, you get it sanded, it's feels so good.
Looks like it has some interesting grain along the side as well.
A little bit of a that's right
Bark.
at the edge of the bark, the inner edge. A couple of knots. This is a limb. Yeah, it's still got to be sanded a good bit, but it's we're getting started here. All right. Since we're doing a hollow form, I think what I'm going to do is use my Easy Wood detail tool. This is not the real sharp one. This is the rounded one, um, but that will get me close, give me a start into what I want to do. I've just got to make some decisions. How wide an opening I want it here,
You
and
want to change cameras then?
yes.
Sorry about
No, nothing to be sorry about. That's one reason you're here. Let's go to
Oh,
the
Rich
zoom.
is suggesting, Doug, that you need to get some Hunter hollowing tools.
Um, I think I've got one somewhere.
Now, Heather is saying that she was a figure skater as a young teen, and she'd race the hockey players around the rink, and she'd win every time. Old Man River has joined us as well.
Hey, Dale.
Glad to see you, Dale. When I do that part, I find sometimes just the square easy wood tool is good for going straight in.
Absolutely. I just wanted to get kind of a start here. I'm probably going to have to, yep, I got to take my tailstock off, which doesn't surprise me. It's always in the way. There we go.
Dewey Shred has joined us. Hi, Rob.
All right, now too high. Here we go. Well, not that one. Let's go with this one. Let's go with this one. A little round.
Wasn't that the one we were discussing earlier?
Yes, yes. Yeah, I've got the. It's a square cutter. It's the R4. It's a square cutter with a 4-inch radius on the edge. And I'm wanting at some point to get the dead flat.
Now, Robert says that his wife's relation was a golf pro in the States and was a good friend of Bob Hope.
Okay. That's enough of that one. Let's get the big boy here. Where'd he go? Here he is. The number one hollower. Just working on getting the center, and then we'll get the hollowing tools. Get it going here. I've got about halfway to go still to get to the bottom.
Tim Ponder has joined us. Hello, Tim.
Hey, Tim. And you guys who are on Wednesday night in that group, this is not what I'm doing, or not what's going to be done tomorrow night. You didn't hear me say any of that.
Now, Old Man River is saying that he tried to do a hollow form, but he just didn't have the right tools for hollowing one. You do have to have the right tools. It makes the job a lot easier.
It does.
If it's got a fairly wide opening, like a little wider than the one Doug made, you can do a lot of it with just a spindle gouge, believe it or not.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I'm thinking about it. I'll pull out a couple. There's one, there's another one, and there's another one. Sorby made a whole line of hollowing tools. That's one. It's a flat bar with a high speed or carbide bit in the end, and that's adjustable. You loosen that screw right there, you can change the angle.
Mm-hmm.
Then they made these, basically the same tool with just a swan neck.
Yep.
That worked. Those were my original hollowing tools. And then someone mentioned a hunter tool a while ago. There's the hunter tool. And that was head and shoulders above the Sorbies. And then Easy wood came out.
Over
And
the years, the tools have certainly changed.
they really have. There are many, many others on the market. Um, the Olin style tools, which are very similar to those Sorbies. Here's one. This is a deep hollower that I made. Same idea as the bit on the end.
Yep,
Goes real deep. Um, the ring tools that have been talked about several times.
right.
It's a fairly small one
The
and
hook
one of my
tools
hand.
are in the same category.
Yeah,
Ring and hook tools work best for end grain hollowing.
yes, they do. They do. All right, where are we? Okay, we've gone a little further. Let's keep going. A little deeper. Just getting that center nib out. That's always the hardest part. Did watch somebody the other day, and they said some of the things that I've thought for a long time. If you keep that center nib out as you work down, it's a little easier than if you let it build up and try to get it later.
True.
I'm having a little tough time just keeping it out, but it's not getting any bigger, thank goodness. Okay.
As Karsten points out, you can get quite far with round carbide scrapers.
Yeah, that's what I've got here is this little small carbide scraper on the end of the tool here.
Now, the form Doug is doing here is going to be a little more difficult than many hollow forms, mainly because it's so shallow but wide.
Mm-hmm.
So you do have a long reach to the side, and that's where the number 3 hollower is going to come in and be extremely useful.
Excuse me, had to cough here a second.
Well, okay, you're allowed to be human.
Allowed to be human. I'm going to let that be that for now. Let's see. While we're here, go ahead and clean it out, and then we're going to do something a little bit unusual. Change directions. Raise the speed a little bit. I've had it down pretty low, but I've got it turning counter or clockwise now. So I'll go in and I'll turn from the other side lightly, but I can see better instead of reaching all the way across.
Now, Doug, I'm looking out my window and the sun is shining, so you must have said a few prayers after you received my email.
I did not, but
When Doug sent me the link for coming in as an earworm today, I wasn't sure I was going to make it because we were having very severe thunderstorms and my internet was disappearing. So I'm quite sure he said something and managed to get the sunshine to come back and my internet as well. Then it's how the other earworms are off watching the soccer game.
well, most of them anyway. I asked one fellow who I'm sure is not watching European soccer to come, but he wasn't able to be here apparently. Oh man, we're getting somewhere. We're getting somewhere.
Yeah, you can see quite nice shavings coming off. Now, since you're running your lathe in reverse, did you lock down a set screw on your chuck?
Let's see, let me do it this way. Of course that camera locked up. That aggravates me when it does that.
Still a nice image of you.
There we go. Deactivate, reactivate. That's better. And I'm going to say yes.
Okay, I think I understood that.
Yeah, I am taking light cuts, and I'm conscious of that issue, and so I'm watching it. If I see the gap between tool rest and the piece get narrower, um, we'll be stopping if I'm observant enough to notice it.
And the professor said the sun is just setting over there. So
Okay.
he must be over on the British side of the pond. And old man Dale is saying that their cable was down last night from 5:45 p.m. to 6 this morning because of high winds.
Goodness.
Yeah, we've had some really wicked storms coming through. Either we've got extreme heat for a week at a time, or extreme storms.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's been that kind of a year already. Um, I'm part of disaster relief, and we've had tons of calls already that it's possible we may need you to go out. So far, there have been a couple times when they wanted us to go out, and I just have not been able to, which is too bad. I've really wanted to, but okay, now I've done that. This is the Big Easy Wood. It's the CI3, or the not the CI3. It's the number 3 hollower, and it's a big boy. I'm back in forward direction, turning toward me. I've got to back my tool rest off because you don't want the crooked part on the tool rest. You want the tool rest here or further back. I'm still not quite far enough. There we go. Now, that will allow me then to reach right around the corner here.
And Dale is saying that the mall his wife works in was without power for 18 hours
Oh my
because
goodness.
the winds took down a pole. And Dale says, I know my spelling. Well, that's okay, Dale. I'm not teaching school anymore, so I just ignore spelling errors. I knew what you meant.
All right. Clean her out.
I've been retired now for about 16 years, and it's funny, but the one thing that'll still irk me will be poor grammar.
Hmm. All right. I was wondering if that was an old bit or not. It may be needing to turn.
And Lucy says it's been too hot and humid for her today. And Dale says he was always the first one out of all the spelling bees in school.
Me too. Me too. If they would give me a list of words to study, I'd do okay. If I didn't have a list to study on, forget it.
And Lucy
Forget it.
says she struggles now as phones do predictive text, and it's made my brain lazy.
I understand. Phone numbers are the same way. You know, we used to have tons of phone numbers memorized. I don't know about anybody else, but I barely know my own phone number, much less anybody else's.
Yeah, it's kind of embarrassing when somebody asks you for your phone number.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, and you got to think.
Robert says he's been cutting down a lot of ivy in today's heat. I hope you're taking precautions, Robert, because ivy can be quite toxic.
I'm holding that. I don't know if y'all can. Well, let me back it out, and y'all can see what I'm talking about. I'm holding this way up under my arm so that I've got my whole forearm supporting that handle, and then working that in and going deep and coming over to the side as much as I can. I've got so many shavings in there at the moment that's grabbing the tool.
Yeah, I find I wedge it under my armpit as well.
Mm-hmm. Makes a lot of difference, especially with these goosenecks where you have to be so far off the tool rest anyway. Um, makes a big difference in
Yeah,
being
you
able
want
to.
you want to have as long a handle as you can on it. And Doug says that when he tries to write something now, he knows he can, but his hand has lost the muscle memory because of all the using of the keypad.
Mm,
I remember in my last years of teaching when they told me I couldn't teach cursive writing anymore, I kind of rebelled because I said to them, well, how's a kid going to sign a check and fill out documents? So what I did instead was in art class, I taught them calligraphy, and every kid left my room able to write quite nicely.
there you go. My son cannot sign his name, and I'm wondering the same thing, Ruby. How is he gonna when he goes to buy a house? How's he gonna sign his contract? I
Right.
imagine what he'll do is he'll print it.
Now, Doug says he finds if he moves the tool rest a little higher and cuts at a down angle, he gets less catches when he's hollowing.
I understand that. See, I'm not gonna lose that tool just yet. I'm gonna keep it close. But I'm gonna change over for just a minute to my old finisher, which is another tool that probably needs a new cutter on it. But we're going to run this tool rest in just a touch.
Now, I can't measure depth like you can because my fingers are really short. So I have a ruler that I keep by the lathe all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And Doug says his name is the only thing his hand can remember how to write.
When we bought this house, I had the first page or two of signatures. I had to sit there and think about how to write my first name because Doug is not my first name. And the lady at the mortgage company, she was looking at me. I said, I don't use my first name, so I have to think about it. All right, that tool's done what I wanted it to do. Come back to the swan neck. Back this out. There we go.
Well, once I got into school, I ran into a problem because at home I was never called Ruby because my mother was Ruby and my grandmother was Ruby.
Okay.
And I
Do I
didn't.
dare ask what they called you?
Yeah, they used to call me Peeper
Okay.
because when I was a baby, I didn't cry like a baby. I made a chirping sound like a baby chicken. My
Okay.
dad used to say, "Well, where's Peeper?" And the name just stuck. And even to this day, my cousins and their children still know me by that name.
Okay. I used to work with a lady. She was from southern Mississippi, and she was in I forget what she said, second grade, third grade, something like that. And they were calling first day of school. They were calling out the children's names, and they called out a name, and nobody said anything, and called it again. Nobody said anything. Teacher called the name out third time. Nobody said anything. And the teacher walks over to this lady who's this friend of mine. She says, "Darling, don't you know that's your name?" She did not. She had been called Precious her entire life. Did not realize her name was Jennifer.
Now, Lucy says that thankfully she can remember phone numbers easily and car registration numbers too. You must be blessed with one of those photographic memories, Lucy. And she replies, it's the old use it or lose it thing,
Mm-hmm.
which is true.
Absolutely. Okay. We've gotten quite a ways here. I'm not through the bottom from the halfway down on the side is still got some wood in it that needs to come out. The top half is not bad.
And Lucy says that she's almost certain that Gideon has a photographic memory.
Ah,
That can be a blessing. And Dale says his handwriting was always bad and it got worse as he got older.
yeah.
Unfortunately, that does tend to happen to most people.
Oh goodness. Oh, people have asked me before why my lathe is as high as it is. This is why. when I got this lathe, I was doing a lot of hollow forms, and so I've got my lathe. The legs are as long as they'll go, and I've got 4x4s underneath. Still, you're talking about your fingers are short. That's all the further I am from my top of my thumb to the end of my finger there. That's as long as this piece is. I've still got a good quarter of an inch in the very bottom, but still got a little more to take out.
Raymond Wise has joined us. Good evening, Raymond.
Hey, Raymond. It must be at halftime in the soccer game. Oh, let's see.
Now, you don't use you do have thickness calipers.
Yep. I'm still 3/4 of an inch in the very side and down toward the bottom, more like an inch. So there's still some wood to take out. But it really does feel it's coming along very nicely. I'm pretty happy the way it's been.
Nice set of calipers for checking forms like that are the Andre Martel calipers.
Mm-hmm. I'm not even sure where this set came from. When I set up my first shop, my dad gave me a whole bunch of stuff, and that might have been one of the pieces he gave me. One of the interesting things with these tools, a lot of people have said, you can't really tell where you are. But if you notice, the edge of the cutter is in line with the edge of the bar. So I can kind of project by looking down this line, I can kind of project where my cutter is. Not as much the depth of it, but I know how far left and right I am for sure.
Now, Doug's saying that if he knew anyone with a laser, he would get them to cut him a set of those thickness calipers.
Yeah.
They're not that expensive, truth be known.
No, they're really not.
The professor says that he's always written in capitals, which is quite common in left-handers, apparently.
I did when I was in my master's work. No, it wasn't. When I was in my college work, I went with all print. My cursive was so bad that it didn't pay for me to write out my notes and stuff. So I've just done that ever since. But then when I was in seminary working on my master's work, um, I was able to get my first laptop. And that was precipitated because I went home one day, was going to rewrite my notes so I could read them, and could not, even printing. So I got my laptop, and my grades went up immediately.
Well, that shows the difference in our ages, Doug. When I went to university, they still didn't have computers.
Right.
In fact, I was well into my teaching career before they brought them into the schools I taught at. And I remember the day they told us we had to do our report cards on computer. At that time, we had a staff of 26 people, and only 2 owned a computer. And I remember coming to the principal, and when do you propose to teach the staff how to use one in order to do the report cards on the computer?
All right. We're getting somewhere now. And as much as I love that tool, my hands are getting tired. Of course, it's only been 2 weeks since I turned, so oh, we're real nice, except right across the bottom. I'm gonna have to bring the big finisher over and work on that some more. But let me do this. Um, Slow my speed back down. Give a little more love with some more sandpaper, especially here on the top. I didn't worry about the top too much because I wasn't sure how big I was going to make that top. And I think this is going to be a two-part piece. I've pretty well turned it. What I think I'm going to do is turn another piece, a cap, so to speak, for the very top. And then I turned the finials 2 weeks ago. I turned 3 of them, and I'll use one of those in that cap. I think, if I don't change my mind.
Now, Todd is saying when his first year of college, they used punch cards in their computer.
Really?
I remember those as well.
I didn't learn on punch cards. I learned computer on Radio Shack. The monitor, keyboard, the big floppies. And there's a couple about maybe 2 years later they came out with the little 2.5 or whatever size they are, the little hard plastic floppies. I really liked them. I thought we'd really come a long way.
And Pete says that when he started the bike club, about 5% of the members had a computer at all, and only some of them had internet. A few years later, and we ditched the 200 newsletters by post that went out every month, as all 100% had gone to the internet. That's a big change.
Big change, yeah.
Well, just so everybody knows, when I need advice computer-wise, I contact Pete at Twisted Trees.
Mm-hmm.
My computer just finished telling me that it wasn't going to support Windows 10 anymore, and I needed to go to another one.
Yes. Oh, Ruby, I was setting this shop up, the computer in here, and I've come to find out nothing is supporting Windows Vista anymore. I was pretty upset. I mean, I had it done. I was ready to go other than putting my software together, and come to find out none of it was working because I had Vista. And it wasn't the cheap Vista either. It was the good one. So the computer that I had gotten to go in my office ended up coming in here, which is what I'm using now. If I don't pull it down and blow the dirt out of it, it's going to lay down on me, I'm afraid. All right. We've done the sanding up to whatever it is, 220. Let's get a little.
Is that water?
This is alcohol.
Alcohol?
Yeah, just to clean out the pores a little bit before we go further.
Oh, hooray. Pete just posted that he's found a hack that will put Windows 11 on computers that it can't be installed on.
Ah.
I'll send you my computer, Pete.
You could probably get a new one cheaper.
Better I could haul it with me when I go over to England in November.
There you go. There we go. A little axe abrasive paste. I used to think it was so funny when these guys would talk about a product saver, that the best product saver comes on the jars. Just have to put the lid on. I thought, well, yeah, but sometimes you want to go back to the jar. But the week just before I went on vacation, I was doing this very thing and knocked it off, and it landed, of course, open end down in the shavings.
Well, of course.
Yeah. So I had to sit there and pick out the junk. Luckily, I had a bunch of big shavings on the floor, and there weren't too many of those but they were stuck in there. I had to dig them out with my little pick. All right.
That's developing some nice shades of color in it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We'll slow this down further. That's 250. Just to work it in, let the abrasive do its thing.
Pete says to bring it in November, and he can do an art day with it. I can do an art day with his wife while he hacks my PC.
Make sure you take your credit card info off.
I don't know that I have any on my computer.
Good. Anymore, it used to not be a big deal. Anymore, I'm not saying Pete would do anything. Pete's a good guy.
Oh, I would trust Pete with anything.
Absolutely. Might have a case of Doom Bar on there, but that's okay. For doing the work, that'd be a good trade. But anymore, people hack in from remote locations, and oh mercy, I've had so many on my phone here lately.
Yeah, I've been getting number.
I've had people wanting to get into my not Facebook, YouTube, and we talked about it a little bit yesterday during one of the chats, and it's an amazing thing. People try to get into your YouTube channel, and they'll take everything you got. So
I was telling Doug that I've been working on some of my drawing skills lately, and I ordered some more materials from Amazon. And to my surprise, I didn't know that my credit card had been building up a number of points, and I ended up getting my entire order for free.
that's amazing. Just keep building up a little bit of speed at a time, turning the paper towel, just like with any of the abrasive paste. Just continue to work it bit by bit till the paper towel comes off clean. And then not only has the grit done its job, but the oils and waxes that are used for carriers have been wiped off to the point where you can put other finishes on there without any problem. Even though I'm going to use wax on this, I could come back with a lacquer sanding sealer and then use lacquer, or for that matter, shellac. Shellac will stick to most anything. The first coat, quite often you have to be very misty on it. Not really put a coat on there, but just like a tack coat. Get another paper towel as we finish up.
Well, Pete says that he's an expert at forgetting passwords, Doug. He has to know many when fixing computers for Terry, Brian, Steve, Mark, and many of his paying customers too.
Sure.
Once done, he has no idea what the codes were.
Yeah, I would be the same way. I'd have to have it written down. Once that paper was gone, it was gone. I would not have it any longer.
Well, I
All
gained
right.
an extra computer when my husband went in the nursing home, and he can't remember what his password was.
Oh, mercy.
Mind you, he can't remember where he put all the keys for his firearms either.
Mm, mm. All right, let's get a little bit of. This is the polishing, restoring polishing, restoring wax. It's a carnauba wax that Tom, who makes it, a year and a half or 2 years ago, decided he'd put more carnauba into the mixture, and it's a very good mixture at this point. It's a very stiff wax. It used to be very soft wax,
Now,
much stiffer now.
does it come up with a gloss or a satin finish?
It's it's a gloss, not a super high gloss like a lacquer would be, but yeah, it's a gloss. Here we go. Um,
Ham- Hampton Woodturning says he used to write code using MS-DOS to create different computer games.
mm.
If they'd had those available when I went to school, I probably would have gone in a totally different direction.
Just giving this a light buffing to begin with, making sure I've got a good even coat, and then just applying more and more pressure so it can kind of build up a little bit of heat, which not only melts the carnauba but also helps it to work into the wood itself.
I find when I'm applying a wax like that, if I put it on and then leave it to set for a few minutes, like go sweep up all my shavings and that
Mm-hmm.
it actually buffs up a lot nicer.
You are 100% correct. This would do the same thing.
Except
I have.
we
Go ahead.
don't really want these folks watching you sweep up your shavings, right?
Right. Well, that's kind of my thought. I don't like to sweep them up, much less watch other people sweep. I did come in here yesterday just to check on everything, and everything was fine. But I realized my floor was still a mess from the last time just before I left on my two trips. Did have one catastrophe going to South Georgia with my wife. We got back and realized the next day all of our chickens are gone. The doors are latched, everything was good to go, but apparently a fox found a way to push the wire in. So we lost lost all of our chickens.
Oh dear.
Yeah. So once we use up the eggs that we have, we'll have to start buying eggs again, which I don't like. I don't like store-bought eggs at all. Just no flavor to them.
Well, last time I visited my cousin in England, it was interesting when I went out to collect the eggs for her because I collected white ones,
Uh-huh.
off-white ones, brown ones. You're frozen, by the way, Doug.
Okay.
Blue ones. I mean, the color variation between the different hens was amazing.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we had eight that were all laying, and they all eight had different color eggs. So when we put a dozen eggs in a tray, it was very colorful. Here we go. So you can see it's got a pretty decent shine there.
Yeah, if you hold it back just a little bit, there.
There
It
we
came
go.
out nice.
There's some of that color that was there. Come on around. There's that knot right there. So you can see it's kind of a pebble-looking hollow form, and it's down about an eighth at least, all the way to about here. Maybe just a little thicker in the bottom. I'm sure. I know it is. It's 2 1/4. Yeah, it's about it's 3/8 at the bottom anyway. Of course, the tenon will be coming off later, but I need that on there because I'll polish that up some more. But anyway, in fact, I'll use it when I do this cap. I will do a very tight friction fit and kind of blend those two together a little bit before we put the finial on. So there you have it, hollow form, cherry. Just an old log. It's been laying around, and I just grabbed a piece, threw it on the lathe for today. And folks, I've been hearing a lot of people talking about scrap. Golly, let's throw it in the floor. Scrap wood and firewood. This could have been easily firewood had somebody not had something to do with it, like turn it. But golly, that's going to be a very nice piece. Bring it up. You can see it even better, I
You're getting
think.
a lot of compliments on it, Doug.
Well, thank you all so very much. Just, I love the knots and how they show up. I need to blow that out. Here's some of the, there we go. Get some of that stuff out of that knot so it doesn't dry white. So anyway, we'll finish this up next week. I'll set that aside and hang on to it, and we'll just have a good time next week finishing that piece up. If there's not any other questions, I think we can probably knock this one in the head. See anything
No,
else
no,
there,
you
Ruby?
don't want to hit it in the head until it's done.
Oh, it may come back and hit me in the head. So good to have you, Scott, Rich, Lucy, all you folks, Todd, Fred, Zed. Zed is in. I'm
Yes,
assuming, Zed, that you've got a premiere a little later. You do. Go ahead and throw your
Lincoln.
link in there. Folks can jump over there. That usually comes on here in about another, I don't know, a little while. 6 o'clock is when you come on, isn't it?
6
All right.
o'clock your time.
Yeah. Yeah, 6 o'clock my time, and not Zed's time. Heather, good to see you. Lucy. So let me do it, whether Zed's got anything or not. Let me invite you to
He
Worldwide
does.
Wood.
He just put the link in.
Oh, very good, very good. So there's his link. Let me invite you, everybody, if you're not already a part of it, especially folks here in the States. You folks in England are welcome. It's just late for you all. But Worldwide Woodturners starts at 7 o'clock on Wednesday nights, at 7 p.m. Wednesday nights Eastern time. And so you are invited. It's a free online club. You are most welcome to come along. We have a great time. Usually we'll have a first-rate demo and a lot of sharing of gallery. Ruby's usually there. I'm typically there. Dale is there.
Wayne's usually there.
Wayne has been there in the past. Yes, he surely has. So a lot of folks do come, and it's a good time. So worldwidewoodturners.org, O-R-G. Like I said, 7 o'clock Eastern time, which is midnight British summertime. Or I'll just say British time because it doesn't matter which whether it's summertime or GMT. It works out the same way. 5 hours difference, except for like 2 weeks. So anyway, you're invited. Come along. You go to the worldwidewoodturners.org. Look over toward the left of the page. Go down just a little bit. You'll see a button that says "Click to go to meeting." Click on that. It takes you to Zoom. You just wait there a minute, and one of the moderators will let you in. And like I said, we have a good time. It's always fun. Quite interesting. Sometimes we learn a lot. Sometimes it's just laughing at one another. We just have a good time. So come on along, and we'll be glad to have you. If you 100-minute countdown, Zed says. That's good, Zed. I love it. Um, if you haven't already, I'd love for you to hit that subscribe button. Go ahead and hit that bell notification. That'll let you know anytime I'm posting something new or when I'm getting ready to come on live. Also, hit the like button. One other thing, if you'll let this live end and then come back in after it's over and put something in the comments, that really, for whatever reason, the new algorithms really like that for people to come back in and put a comment. So if you'll do that, I would greatly appreciate it. Things are going well. I hope you're all doing well. It's kind of a warm summer day here in Kentucky. I understand it's pretty warm and sunny in most of Great Britain, and it has been for the last hour or so in Canada as well. So
Well, this
we're
this this last week, 2 weeks, we've had temperatures of close to 100 degrees, which is about 40
wow,
Celsius,
wow, that's
and
that
and the same humidity. So it's been
that's
barely bearable.
yeah, that's crazy for you all. I was down in South Georgia, and it was 15 degrees at midday, cooler than it was here in Kentucky. Kentucky was much hotter, um, totally dry in both places. We had one day where we had about a total of about 30 minutes of rain. That came in about 5 or 6 little bursts of, just showers. Weren't even downbursts. They were just showers that came along. So we had a good time, enjoyed the ocean. Check my Facebook page. You'll see some sundown, a couple of series of sundown pictures. I'm about to put up a series of uh, what they call driftwood beach pictures. Um, Pretty interesting to see some of the dead trees along the beach. So anyway, hope to see you again next week. And until then, hope you're able to spin them around. Bye bye.
Bye bye.